Hello everyone, I'm Claire, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to Holo Taco's latest release, their 7th Anniversary Jackpot Collection. I'm not someone who gets PR from brands, and it's fairly rare for me to buy full collections, and that means I can't do a swatch and review like other creators, but I still like to be able to talk about new releases. So I'll be going through all the polishes, talking about how they fit into the Holo Taco catalog, saying whether or not I want them, and then also talking about the collection as a whole. The vibes, the finishes, the color story, that kind of thing. And hopefully if you're also on a low buy or a no buy, then seeing this approach to collections is helpful for you. So let's get into it. Holo Taco is a boutique nail polish brand based in the US and founded by Christine from the Simply Nailogical YouTube channel. Their limited edition Jackpot collection is Las Vegas casino themed, and it's made up of 5 full coverage polishes and 2 toppers. So first up is Sweeten the Pot, which is described as a smooth, lustrous gold chrome. If you're familiar with Holo Taco's One Coat Chrome collection, this seems to be a very similar finish. If you're not familiar, the vibe is smooth metallic, where you can't see individual shimmer particles, but there are some brushstrokes. And the chromes can be weird with certain base coats, and they don't necessarily need top coat because they dry very fast, but they also chip more easily. I don't own any of them. They just seem kind of finicky, and I don't love how they look, so I've never been that interested, but I know some people appreciate how fast you can do a mani with them. When it comes to this particular polish, the original Chrome collection did have a gold, but it was a lighter kind of green tinged gold that most people were not a fan of. And Sweeten the Pot is a warmer, more pleasant, true gold. So I do like this color. I am generally a fan of golds, but I don't want this one because of the finish. In addition to chromes being kind of finicky, I also just prefer the look of a sparkly metallic instead of the smooth, uniform visual texture. It's like it's trying to look like real metal, but it doesn't quite get there, so it's a little uncanny valley. Then we've got Hit the Lights, which features gold reflective glitter and gold scattered holo in a deep indigo blue jelly base. Holo Taco doesn't have anything super similar to this, at least when it comes to the finish. They do like making indigos. But when they've done reflective glitter in the past, it's usually been in combination with shimmer or flakies. And I do appreciate that this polish lets the reflective glitter be the star of the show, because with some of those previous polishes, either they didn't put in enough, or sometimes those additional elements, or even the base color, made it hard to see the reflective glitter. But that doesn't happen with the additional element in Hit the Lights because the gold holo is more subtle. It's just scattered throughout. So this is definitely a polish I considered. I like the base color, I like gold, I like reflective glitter, but ultimately I do actually prefer when reflective glitter is paired with a shimmer or a flake. I like when there's some variation in color or particle size, because there are ways to do it where both elements are still visible. Like Lurid Lacquer does a great job with that type of polish. So Hit the Lights just feels a bit plain to me. If it had like maybe a red iridescent flake, then I'd be more interested, but as is, I can skip it. Next is Velvet Room, a smooth metallic polish in a cherry red color. It looks a lot like the chrome finish, but apparently the formulation is a little different. It still has good coverage, but opacity has to be built up over a couple of coats. Holo Taco hasn't done much with this exact finish, but there are some kind of similar red polishes in their catalog. Thirst Trap is a brighter version in a metallic microflake finish, so a little more sparkly but still fairly smooth and uniform. And based on comparisons I've seen, the closest red is Sacrificial Lacquer unmagnetized, but it still has some slight differences. So to me, this is one of the more boring polishes in the collection. It does fit the vibe, but it doesn't stand out that much in Holo Taco's catalog, and I feel like it's pretty common for mainstream brands to have a red like this. To be fair, I am pretty picky when it comes to reds. I have a couple of red polishes that I really love, but it's rare for me to get excited about this color. So it's an easy skip for me, but for red lovers, it seems like a nice polish. Then we've got All I Do Is Sin. It has a black jelly base with multicolored holographic glitter. So it's not just rainbowy because it's holographic, the glitters also have a variety of base colors. Holo Taco is known for their holo glitters, but this one is different than most because the glitters are a uniform small size. Like there are some even tinier ones you can see with macro photography, but generally it's just the one size that's really visible, and most Holo Taco glitters use a variety of sizes. The one exception I can think of is Blush Money from a past royalty collection. So it's fun to see them play with something different, and this is another polish I kind of considered getting, but I don't really love how the uniform glitters look. I prefer more variation. And if I want the rainbows in a black base look, there are other ways I can get that. I could get their Disco Dust topper and layer it with the black jelly. I could get Trick or Trash, which has multicolored metallic flakes in a black base. There are options I like better than All I Do Is Sin. Then the last full coverage polish is Chandelier Showers, which has a lot going on. It has various sizes of silver holo glitter, silver holo shards, and purple-pink iridescent flakes in a clear base. So it can technically be used as a topper, but it's dense enough that it builds up to full coverage. I really like this polish. I think it's very creative, the kind of thing an indie brand would do. This collection is the first time Holo Taco has used these holographic shards, which seem to be kind of somewhere between a glitter and a flake. The size and shape is irregular like a metallic flake, but they seem to be more substantial like a glitter. And I love that they added a colorful element with the iridescent flakes, so it's not just a here's a bunch of silver pigments type polish like Ride or Diamond. I also like that this polish had a very specific inspiration. It's based on the Chandelier Bar at the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Vegas, and they definitely captured how glowy and sparkly it is. I didn't buy Chandelier Showers because it is mostly silver and I'm not a big fan of silver, but I go back and forth on whether I regret skipping it. Because it is in a clear base, which means I could have layered it with jellies or done other things to adjust the color, and I feel like we aren't going to see a lot of this type of polish from Holo Taco, except for maybe in limited edition releases, because Christine was saying during the launch stream that the holo shards aren't very consistent batch to batch, so they wouldn't want to use them for a polish that they would have to restock. But honestly, I think I like the idea of this polish more than the polish itself, so I don't really need it. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Then the first topper is Winning Streak Taco, which is kind of like if the previous polish were gold and a topper. It has various sizes of gold holo glitter, gold holo flakes, and gold reflective glitter. So not all the same elements as Chandelier Showers, but a similar vibe of having a lot of different sparkly elements in one metallic color, including those holographic shards that we haven't seen them use before. As various people have pointed out, Holo Taco loves to make their gold holo toppers limited edition. There was one in the first Anniversary collection, and one in the Advent calendar, and now this one. So I would love to see a gold holo topper actually be part of their permanent lineup, but in case that doesn't happen, I did buy Winning Streak Taco. I feel like it's a really good balance between a couple different types of topper. You've got your more basic toppers with just one element, like a scattered holo or an iridescent flake, and then there are the busier, chunky glitters Holo Taco has done, like Garden Party or Butterfly Taco. Winning Streak Taco has more going on, but without using the shaped glitters, which is fun because I have a few jelly polishes now, and one thing you can do with jellies is put toppers between the layers, but I feel like the basic toppers aren't always the more exciting to use for that unless you use multiple, and so far, even though chunky glitters seem fun, I haven't seen one that's really spoken to me. But I think Winning Streak Taco will be really fun to use for layering since it's more complex than other toppers I have, so I'm excited to play with it. And last up is Suit Yourself Taco. It features shiny red and black glitters shaped like hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. And apparently Holo Taco worked with a glitter manufacturer to make this topper, which they don't usually do, but they couldn't find existing glitters that matched each other well enough. I feel like that's not surprising since this is a very specific topper. And it fits the collection very well. The main complaint I've heard about it is that they should have just sold loose glitter because it's hard to apply big glitters like this out of the bottle, so people are going to want to do glitter placement anyway. People were also saying that they only made it a topper instead of loose glitter because they can charge more this way. I think there could be some truth to that, but obviously I don't know what the Holo Taco team's thought process was. Either way, I'm not interested in this polish because I've never had any desire to put card suits on my nails. Just not my vibe. So those are all the polishes. There were a few I was somewhat interested in, but only one that I decided to get. Now, I don't usually talk about any extras that are released alongside a collection, like when they do bags or nail files. My videos are long enough just talking about the polishes. But this time, I do want to mention the deck of cards that came with the collection. They're included if you get the collection box and are not available to purchase separately, and there's no option to get the collection box but not the cards, which is notable because they are a little pricey for something that's basically a novelty item. The collection box price is listed at $113, discounted from $122. And when I first saw that, I didn't think much of it. Holo Taco will sometimes give a bundle discount, but then someone in the Nicole Loves Nails Discord pointed out that if you add up the prices of the individual polishes, it's only $103, which means that people are paying $10 for the cards, and it's implied that they're worth $19. And I'm not saying that's a good price or a bad price. I don't know how much holographic playing cards should cost, but I think it's a little disingenuous to say, oh, we're giving you a discount for something that doesn't have a previously established price. Maybe Holo Taco has determined internally that they would charge $19 for just the cards, but they're not selling just the cards, they're selling them with the collection box. So as a customer, the only thing I know is that they're worth $10 because that's how much I'd be paying for them. And because of that, I feel like the listing should just say $113 and not $113 discounted from $122. It just feels like one of those scam websites where everything is always on sale, so you feel like you're getting a deal. And I also just don't think they should make you pay for an extra non-nail polish item with the collection box. If they want to include a deck of cards with every box for the vibes, that's on them. If they want people to pay for the cards, they should be listed as a separate product. And if they don't think they would sell enough that way for it to be worth it, then they shouldn't make the cards in the first place. When this conversation happened in Nicole's Discord, someone said, but they always make you pay for the extras. When I got the Sophia box, it was $80-something, and that's more than the cost of the polish. But that was only if you got the bundle listing with the extras. When I got the Sophia collection box, it cost $68 because there was also an option to get it without the nail file and the back glitters. So I wish they had done something similar for this release, instead of designing the box to include a spot for the cards and making everyone pay for them if they wanted the box. But that's capitalism for you. Let me know what you think. Okay, with that out of the way, I can get into talking about the collection as a whole. I'll start with the color story. I feel like they did a good job here, especially compared to last year when the color story felt kind of all over the place. Gold is a definite through line with a couple of fully gold polishes and the gold glitter in Hit the Lights. Then we have a red polish, a black polish, and a red and black topper. And there are some cooler toned accents with the indigo and the silver. Plus, most of the polishes are on the bolder side. They lean towards saturated rather than muted. So it's pretty cohesive. I wouldn't say that any of the polishes feel like they don't belong, and I feel like they work for the theme as someone who hasn't been to Vegas and is just going based on vibes. The colors feel very rich and glitzy and upscale. I also appreciate that this color story is different than what we usually get. I feel like with a lot of collections, Holo Taco is like, okay, here are the popular colors, now how can we get them to fit the theme we're thinking of? But this collection definitely felt like they started with the theme and chose the colors from there. Gold is not an especially good seller historically. Holo Taco customers don't like red as much as mainstream nail polish wearers do, so it's nice that they gave us some variety and did a collection based around those colors. That brings us to finishes, and we also got a good variety here. No two polishes are exactly the same finish, though some, like Sweeten the Pot and Velvet Room, are similar to each other. Those two are also what I would consider the most basic. the most likely for there to be something similar from a mainstream brand. So I don't love that they're taking up 2 spots in a limited edition collection, but the other polishes do feel like they're more worthy of being limited. Like I mentioned before, apparently the Holo Shards in Chandelier Showers and Winning Streak Taco aren't super consistent batch to batch. There are a ton of different kinds of glitter in All I Do Is Sin, so that's probably also tricky from a supply chain perspective. Suit Yourself Taco has custom glitters. Hit the Lights isn't as complicated, but it's still something they don't usually do. So this isn't one of those times where I'm looking at all the polishes like, why is this limited edition? I wouldn't say all of these finishes are my personal favorites. There's a reason I only bought 1 polish from the collection, but I don't have major complaints. When it comes to the theme, I have kind of mixed feelings. I think it was well executed. Again, I haven't been to Las Vegas or done any gambling elsewhere. Most of my knowledge of Vegas comes from Sophia Nygaard videos, which also don't involve gambling, so I am just going based on vibes, but I do think they captured the spirit of late night partying and gambling in a fancy environment where everything looks extra glittery because you're inebriated. My issue is just that I don't like the idea of gambling. With online sports betting and prediction markets becoming such a thing in recent years, with them being advertised constantly, with how easily people can get addicted, I just have very negative associations with gambling. There's basically no upside. And I know going to a casino in Vegas is different than online betting. It's easier to have a healthy approach when it's something you only do occasionally because it involves being physically present at a casino rather than something you can do all the time on your phone. But going to casinos can still cause problems for people, so I might prefer if this collection were more general Vegas vibes with just a couple references to gambling, instead of the collection box looks like a slot machine. Really, most of the polish names are not specific to gambling, but I feel like they did lean into it with the marketing. And I get it, it's their 7th anniversary, they're doing a Lucky 7 thing, but still not my favorite theme. So that's about all I have for the Jackpot collection. But before I go, I thought I would take a minute to talk about Holo Taco's other summer collections this year, Pop of Holo and Coastal Cremes. You might have noticed that I didn't make full videos about them, I just did shorts. With Pop of Holo, I was kind of busy when it came out, and with Coastal Cremes, I didn't want to make a whole video about just creams. But now that we've seen all of Holo Taco's summer releases, since they usually start moving towards fall vibes in August, I thought it was worth discussing them a bit more. Pop of Holo was 3 linear holos, a shimmer, and a glitter topper in bright saturated colors, and Coastal Cremes was 8 cream polishes in a sun-bleached but still bright palette. And with both of them, there was a lot of talk about similarities to past Holo Taco polishes. Pop of Holo really seemed like a part 2 of the Electric Holos collection. It had a very similar color story, just with different shades of pink and aqua/teal, and in the case of the lime green, a different finish. And for Coastal Cremes, there were various existing or discontinued or limited edition polishes that people thought were similar to the new ones. Though for both collections, if you actually look at the old and new polishes next to each other, there are clear differences. But to me, the two situations aren't totally the same, because most of the polishes from the Electric Holos collection are still around, which means the new ones weren't filling big gaps in the catalog, they were just patching little cracks. Whereas the catalog was generally lacking summery creams, since most cream releases in the past few years have happened in the spring or fall. Not to mention the fact that Holo Taco's cream formula has improved over the years, so it's not necessarily a bad idea for them to discontinue the older ones to make room for new and improved versions. They have also discontinued some linear holos, and I can kind of see why. Their linear holo formula has been good from the start, but some of them have been around for so long that they aren't getting a lot of attention or sales anymore. But the situation is still different because, again, most of the comparable linear holos are still around for now, which means the Pop of Holo collection was not replacing or reimagining discontinued shades, with the exception of Full Charge. It was mostly just giving us more versions of pinkish linear holos. So overall, I kind of think we could have done without the Pop of Holo collection, and not just because it was kind of small and weird and redundant, but also because of the release schedule. This year started out with a fairly reasonable pace. We got a collection at the end of January and then one in mid-March, so more than a month between releases. But then there were 2 limited edition collections in April with Haute Garbage and the Royalty collection, which was just a lot. So I really feel like they could have taken May off and saved linear holos for another time, maybe come up with some other colors. But instead, we got Pop of Holo less than a month after Royalty, Coastal Cremes 4 weeks later, and the Jackpot collection less than a month after that. I don't know why I keep bringing this up, because Holo Taco seems pretty committed to monthly releases, but I would just love to see them show some restraint for once. So I think that's about all I wanted to cover in today's video. After a couple of more classic summery lineups earlier this season, the Jackpot collection had its own distinct color palette, which I really appreciated. And overall, I think it was a solid collection, a good variety of colors and finishes, strong theming. It wasn't necessarily the collection for me, but it was still a good collection, and I think a lot of people are enjoying it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Holo Taco does as we move towards the time for fall collections. Like, we have 2 to 3 more months of hot weather where I live, but it is kind of late summer when it comes to nail polish release schedules. My one prediction is that I think we're going to see part 2 of the Sophia collab, potentially in October, but you can watch my last video to hear more about that. But yeah, I think that's all I have for you today. Thank you to everyone who's watching till the end. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Holo Taco Jackpot collection, if you bought any of the polishes, if you agree or disagree with any of what I said, and if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would leave me a like or maybe even subscribe. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed, and I'll see you next time. Bye!